How's it going, everybody? It's Riley's Redzone here, back with another NFL predictions video. And in today's video, I'm going to be predicting the entire playoffs bracket. It's nice to be back here on camera. I've been doing a lot of quick videos for my weekly predictions, but I'm back here now to talk about the playoffs, talk about all these teams, and how much confidence I have in them going into the postseason. So I'm just going to jump right into it. We had a pretty good year predicting overall games. And hopefully we can keep that going into the postseason. So, I'm going to start with the AFC side. Let's start with these wild card matchups that are going to happen this weekend. The Chiefs and the Steelers is the first game. Now, the Chiefs started the year a little rusty, and people were kind of jumping off the Patrick Mahomes train, but they've clearly turned it around into what we're more used to seeing with that offense with Hill and Kelsey. And I think that they have some momentum now going into the postseason, which is important. The Steelers are very interesting because it felt like 2 weeks ago when the Steelers got that big win against the Browns in likely Ben Roethlisberger's final game in Heinz Field. That felt like a send-off to me. But because they only had, I think, a less than 10% chance of making the playoffs at that point. But then some crazy stuff happened this past weekend. The Jaguars beat the Colts, which I was able to predict. I was happy about that one. And then they avoided a tie in the Chargers-Raiders game, puts the Steelers in the playoffs. But to me, I'll be interested to see how they react, whether they're going to have a lot of energy because it's maybe Ben's final season. It is pretty much, but whether they're going to have that momentum to keep going or whether they kind of stopped and celebrated maybe too early. And that's the direction I'm leaning, unfortunately. I think that Ben Roethlisberger's had a good run. I think that this team is kind of just known. I mean, he said himself kind of as a joke, but this team figuratively has no shot against the Chiefs. And I just think all the energy has been spent. They might get Juju back, which is interesting. At least they're designating him off the return list. I doubt he'll play this week, and I don't think they're going to make it farther than this week. Personally, I'm going to take the Chiefs here. The Chiefs have had some bad moments this year, but I think the Steelers are just a little burnt out right now, and the Chiefs are gaining momentum. You want to be gaining momentum into the playoffs, and the Steelers are too, but I think more in a let's finish it out the regular season type of way. So I'm going to take the Chiefs here. I do expect this to be actually a relatively close game, but I think that the Chiefs offensively will have enough, even though the Steelers have a good defense. Bills and the Patriots. This game could go either direction, really. We saw it both ways. We've seen it where the Patriots are able to beat the Bills at times. And then as well, Mac Jones has been a wild card. He started the year very, very good. At some point seemed to be a favorite for the Rookie of the Year conversation. But then he's kind of slowed back down. Jamar Chase easily took that over. And if you've been following this channel for a while, I've just had a feeling about the Bills for a long time that they're eventually going to make this run. I just think that Josh Allen is an ultimate boomer bust quarterback. That if you can get him playing at his top level in the playoffs and you can catch a streak of 3 games in a row and make it farther, I think that will be really, really good for them. If they catch him on a bad game, then it's not looking good for the Bills. But I truly think that they can get it done eventually. The Patriots have been gaining steam. They're still, now they're getting the run game going up there. They can throw the ball with Mac. Their defense has some great players on it. Matthew Judon's been phenomenal as a pass rusher, and J.C. Jackson has been a great player in the secondary as well. But I just think the Bills have a lot offensively. They've finally been able to get the run game going with Devin Singletary. I like the Bills here now. This could go either direction, but this is one of those just gut feeling ones where I've been on the Bills here thinking they're going to win at least a conference championship here for a little bit, and I think it's finally going to happen. I had them winning in the preseason. You'll see in this video what I think now, but this may be a little bit too much not wanting to jump off of my take, but I want to stay consistent, and so I'm going with it again this year. If they let me down again, I maybe have to reconsider. But I think the Bills here take a win. I expect this to be a very, very close one, as this could go either direction. The Bengals versus the Raiders, on the other hand, I actually don't view the same way whatsoever. The Raiders have played nicely with an interim head coach. Derek Carr has been a solid quarterback, in my opinion, this season. But the Bengals are just phenomenal. They've been playing really, really well recently, with Burrow and Chase now absolutely tearing it up. And then Mixon on the ground also. They really are catching fire. And that's what you want to do. And Trey Hendrickson on defense has been great for them as well. And I just don't think the Raiders have that punch to them, that star power that some of these good playoff teams possess. Now, credit to them for making it as far as possible. I do think Derek Carr is a solid quarterback, and he did well for them this year, but I think that the Bengals just have too much offensively, and I'm going to go with them here to get the win. That's probably, in my opinion, the most one-sided wildcard game in this entire bracket right now, is what I would say personally. So that's going to be the AFC side. So we got the Titans versus the Bengals, and then the Chiefs versus the Bills in the next round. Jumping over to the NFC side, Packers get the bye. Let's start with the Bucs and the Eagles. The Eagles have been a little bit of a surprise team, making as far as they have, but I think that the Bucs, Tom Brady is consistent. He's been getting it done. They obviously had the AB situation a few weeks ago, but I do think that he's recovered well, and he has enough players on there. Like Tyler Johnson is a solid player if needed to step up here. They're looking to maybe get Evans back, I believe, pretty soon. So I think they'll be fine offensively. And the Eagles have performed well, but I just don't think, similar to the Raiders, I mean, Jalen Hurts is okay. But I just think that they don't quite have enough juice on the team to potentially go farther. So I'm going to go with the Bucs there. Probably my second farthest margin of kind of separation there out of the wild card games. Them and then the Bengals game I think are not going to be very close. On the other hand, these other games, the Cowboys and the Niners almost, they managed to win in that last week to keep a playoff spot. And it's interesting. Jimmy G has been playing like Jimmy G. Just an okay quarterback. Not unbelievable, but solid enough to get the job done. And the Cowboys, on the other hand, have been catching fire as well, with Defensive Rookie of the Year probably easily, and Defensive Player of the Year candidates in both Trayvon Diggs and Micah Parsons. I think that the Cowboys have a lot right now, and they're getting their offense going, although they lose Gallup. Cooper and CeeDee Lamb are plenty on the outside, and Dak has been playing pretty solid. They get Zeke and Pollard going. I mean, I think they just have a lot of star players, and that is what, to me, it comes down to in the end, is who are the guys that can make big plays for you on the team. So I'm pretty confident here that the Cowboys will win over the Niners. So I'm going to have the Cowboys moving on to the next round there. Now, the toughest game, in my opinion, on each side of the bracket is the division games, because they know each other, and so playing a team for a third time kind of shakes it up a bit. Now, I really liked the Cardinals last year, actually. I thought they were going to make this jump more so last year, but it's this year. And they potentially are going to get J.J. Watt back this weekend. And Kyler Murray is a solid quarterback. It'll be good to see him now in the playoffs. But they feel like one of those teams that's been losing momentum, and I'm all about gaining momentum into the playoffs. Now, the Rams, though, too, have also been losing momentum, in my opinion. They started the year as maybe one of the best teams. Stafford was a potential MVP candidate. And the end of that game last week clearly was not a good showing. It really... But I go back to star power, and this is where the Cardinals, if they don't have DeAndre Hopkins, to me they're lacking the depth offensively. They have Kyler, But then AJ Green and Rondale Moore and Christian Kirk, to me, are not enough to get it done as a star-powered team in the playoffs. And, the Ertz is a solid option at tight end, but I think defensively is where they'll have a shot here if they can get Chandler Jones and J.J. Watt going. But I'm basically going with the Rams, even though I always like picking the teams that are playing better going into the final part of the season. I think the Rams just have such a loaded roster. It seems almost difficult for me to see how they couldn't be winning. It's kind of, it would be a disappointment to me at this point if the Rams, doing all they have, don't at least make it to the divisional round. Now, I have them doing that. Stafford, I think if they catch him on the right day here, can play well. He has Cooper Kupp, best receiver playing right now in the league. And defensively, their defense seems on paper almost unstoppable with Aaron Donald, Von Miller now, and Jalen Ramsey. I mean, they just have too much talent on this team to not have them continue to have success. So that's why I'm going with the Rams here, even though they are not playing as well as of late. I think that also, let's see if OBJ does anything. I think they're still missing Robert Woods, but OBJ can get it done as a 2 here in the playoffs. I'm going to go with the Rams here just because of that talent. And I think the Cardinals will be something in the future. But I'm excited to see Kyler in the playoffs. I just don't have enough confidence yet in that team, considering how well it seems that Cliff Kingsbury can often start the season very, very good and then slowly fall apart, which is not good. But let's jump back over to the AFC side now for the divisional round. This is a tough first game, actually, with the Titans and the Bengals. The Titans. So, I honestly don't know how they got in this situation. On paper, you see that they had Derrick Henry go down. They had A.J. Brown and Julio Jones go down for multiple times. I don't know how they got in this situation, basically, but they did. They're the 1 seed. And on paper, you see Derrick Henry coming back as an addition, as a big addition, actually, that would maybe take this team to the next level. But is it going to take a bit of time for them to get back into the groove? I really don't know. And that is why I'm going here. I'm thinking I'm going with the Bengals here as an upset. Mike Vrabel, in my opinion, probably deserves Coach of the Year. Considering what his team went through, they've used the most players in the NFL, and have the MVP of the first half of the season go down and still be the number 1 seed is incredibly impressive. But I just think I honestly think the Titans would prefer to play wild card weekend if they were to go back. I think if I were the Titans, I would rather play against the Steelers and have the Chiefs be the 1 seed, because I just think that Derrick Henry coming back might need a week to get back his footing, and then he's going to be good the next week. The problem is, can they get the job done that first game? And another thing is, if there were any team that I would not want the Titans to play right now on the AFC side, I think it might be Cincinnati, personally, right now. The Bengals might be, right now, the most on-fire offense in the league. So I don't want to match up with them right away. And so I think it would have benefited the Titans to play the Steelers in the first round with the 2 seed, and then get to play probably the Bills then in the second round. I think that would have benefited them, but since they don't, the Bengals have really surprised me this year, and I absolutely give them credit for that. They are playing phenomenally offensively, and Burrow is playing very, very well. All the pieces are together. Their defense is solid. I'm going with the Bengals here. I just think that momentum is so key, and I think they're going to be like the Titans from a few years ago when they pulled off a few games where they beat the Patriots in the wild card, and then they beat the Ravens in the divisional, and then they played the Chiefs pretty close, actually, in that AFC Championship, if I remember correctly. So I think that the Bengals are like that, where they are on the rise and they're going to keep that momentum going into the playoffs. So I'm going with the Bengals here in this matchup. So they're going to the AFC Championship, which is impressive for them. Chiefs-Bills. This one is also incredibly tough. Chiefs really good offensively, but it seems as though they're finally getting caught up to. I mean, they've gotten stronger as the season went on. It seemed at first they were not so great, but now they've really recovered to their normal form. But the Bills, to me, I just still have that feeling. If you get Josh Allen on a good day, throwing to Stephon Diggs, and then they're making like other players in this offense actually viable as top targets. I mean, he's making Devin Singletary at running back, Dawson Knox at tight end, and then he made Isaiah McKenzie look like a star player one game. They have Gabriel Davis. I mean, they have everybody they need to make a run here. I just have that feeling about the Bills. This is, once again, I'm maybe putting too much on the line, but I just think they just have the it factor. I feel that Josh Allen does. And if they can keep this momentum going into the playoffs, I think they will be nearly unstoppable if they catch them at the right time. So I'm going to go with the Bills here in an upset. So then I have the 3 and the 4 seed as the championship for the AFC side. Now the NFC side is interesting because the Packers-Rams, let's start with that one. So that was a pretty good game the first time, I believe. And this comes down to, I like the Rams a lot as a team. As a pure roster, I think they have potentially the best roster. If you would go through and add up all the positions, I think they might have the best roster in the NFL. But I just don't know if Stafford has the if factor. And I thought he did going into the year, but it seems as of late, I think they're just lacking for whatever reason. And so I'm going to go with the Packers here. Yeah, at points, it may seem like, they don't have all the star players besides Rodgers and Adams, but I think that they have enough to get it done. They're getting all their guys back. They're getting Jair Alexander back, David Bakhtiari, among other players. I really think that they will get back there. And although I talked about injuries with the Titans, with Derrick Henry, yeah, it may take a week for them to get back up to speed, but the things the Packers, I feel like, are a lot better here at allowing these backups to perform like their starters. And so I think that Aaron Rodgers will be able to elevate this team enough to glide through to the NFC Championship. So I'm going to go with the Packers here. And this really is going to be a close game. But I just basically, on paper, the Rams have built a very, very good roster. But it's going to come down to execution. I really believe that the playoffs change who are the best teams. I think that if you base it on regular season, you're going to get different answers than who's going to be the best at the end here. Teams can make their way through the bracket, but for example, on the AFC side, I would personally say the Titans, in my opinion, for sure offensively, but just in general, are probably not better than the 4th or 5th best team at winning the Super Bowl. They just don't have that it factor right now, to me, with Derrick Henry getting back up to speed. The Rams have a great roster. I just don't think that their offense right now, I just don't know about Stafford, really, is what it comes down to, which is not good considering, you spent some picks on that. But don't get me wrong, Stafford was a great move, and into the season I thought was one of the best moves, and he's playing, he's played well overall this year. But I just think the Packers have too much offensively that Rodgers and Adams will get the win. Now the Bucks and the Cowboys. One of the best games of the year was that first game of the whole season between these two teams. But these two teams have changed dramatically since then. The Bucks maybe haven't been as good as they were this year, but they played really, really well. And even with some off the field issues coming up, or even on the field, I guess, I really think that the Bucks with Tom Brady, he's going to be able to make this offense work with anybody at receiver, and he's even getting some of his guys back. And the Cowboys, although they've improved defensively, I just don't know if there's a stop for Tom Brady here. But this offense, to me, either looks like they did against Washington, putting up like 50 points, or they look like they did against Arizona and struggle. So I think that the Bucks here get an easy win. I just think they have the experience, and I think Brady will get it done. So now to the conference championships. Bengals, Bills. I'm going feeling here. Again, I'm going with the Bills because I just think that Josh Allen on a good day can play like the best quarterback in the league, and they're gaining momentum. Now the Bengals are red hot, but I just think that a little bit of playoff experience from Josh Allen is going to be more than this kind of rookie playoff team kind of for the Bengals. Like a lot of inexperience there. And honestly, I don't know if coaching is going to be able to get it done in the long run. But they've had a great turnaround. I think that they will be dangerous this postseason. Especially like in the wild card round. Sorry, Raiders. Like if there was a team I did not want to play in the wild card round, I think the Bengals might be it. They are on fire right now. But I think that gives more time if you match up in the AFC Championship for the Bills to match that level and get to a tough spot that they can potentially play solid defense against the Bengals. So I'm going to go with the Bills here. All about feeling. Sticking with my preseason prediction. We'll see if it works out. Bills finally don't let me down. NFC side. This is probably, I think, the toughest game. I've been flipping between the whole bracket. Maybe I've already said that this video, but this is the one. If I already did. This is the one right here because it's just we look at last year and the Bucks pulled it off in Green Bay. But this year I feel differently. Man, this is tough because I see what I have on the screen right now for my pick, but I'm almost thinking about switching it because last year we had the situation where it felt like the Bucks, remember, last year were a wild card team like this year, but like they kind of elevated themselves from where they were that season. They gained momentum into the postseason, went all the way. The Packers were a favorite, and then they faced against the Bucks and lost. The Packers were the 1 seed like last year. And it comes down to this. The on-paper motivation to me right now actually goes to the Packers. You may be saying, what? That's Tom Brady on the other side. Yes, I understand that. But this may be Rodgers' last season as a Packer. And I think there's some momentum in that. But the problem is, can you ever doubt Tom Brady? I mean, if you doubt him, he's going to prove you wrong. So it really comes down to here. Surprisingly, I think the safe choice is actually the 2 seed here in the Bucks, considering they've done it before. And I just can't doubt Tom Brady when it comes to, I don't care who he's playing with, he's going to get it done. So I'm going with this, but then that gives us a Bills-Bucks Super Bowl. So here's the reasoning behind this as well. This is where it gets wonky. So I'm taking some chances here in the playoffs, and I'm going to learn this here, whether this works out or not. I am taking the Bills to win the Super Bowl. I did that in the preseason. Maybe I'm sticking too much to the preseason predictions, but it basically comes down to this. If I'm looking at a perspective that I'm trying to get the most picks right here, if I go from that perspective, to me it's safer to pick the Bills because I find it more likely, or I should say, I find it less likely that the Bucks beat the Packers than I feel better about picking the Bills to make the AFC Championship than the Bucks beating the Packers, or even I feel better about the Bills winning the Super Bowl. So if I basically think out of any game here, the hardest decision was Packers-Bucks. I think that if the Packers win that game, I think they would beat the Bills here in the Super Bowl, and they go full momentum. It just comes down to history. Do I take a chance on something that's never happened, or do I go with what has happened many times before? Because countless times we've seen the Packers be a heavily great team in the regular season. We get to the playoffs, and then in the NFC Championship, they just can't get past it. And last year, if I remember correctly, I think I picked them to win the NFC Championship and to actually win the Super Bowl, if I remember correctly, last year. If not, I at least had them close to that. And obviously, they didn't get there. The Bucs managed to win. And I just think that history, it's just like the weekly picks. I sometimes will get a feeling that, for example, I had it at the beginning of the season. I thought the Lions were eventually going to pull off a win. Well, I had that feeling from week 3. I thought so I picked them 2 weeks in a row, and that kept costing me because they never did. If I kept picking them almost every week doing that, I would have gotten an extra 6 losses on that season record. Because although I have a feeling something's going to happen, if I keep doing it and it doesn't happen, eventually you're just costing yourself. So I'm doing opposite strategies here on AFC versus NFC. AFC, I'm going all feeling, and I think the Bills finally pull this off. Now, if they don't this year, then that learns I'm going to, it's just like fantasy players. When you pick a player a few years in a row and they keep disappointing you, you got to jump off eventually here. You got to get off the train and go to another stop. But I think that I have that feeling about the Bills. The Packers, I have more confidence in this year than last year, but I just don't know if I can doubt history, and I can't doubt Tom Brady. So I do think the Bucs eventually will hit a stopping point, but I can't say when. So until that point, I keep it rolling. And also, if I keep picking the Packers and Bills, which I think I did last year, and I think, I forget if this was my exact preseason pick, or maybe I had Packers-Bills as well, then it's not going to happen at some point. And if I keep picking, that's just going to cost me. So I'm going with the Bucs over Packers, and then this matchup, it's all feeling here. I just think the Bills are ready. I think that we're going to get a little bit of a surprise this postseason. I really do. I'm excited to see what happens. I'm excited to watch the football games. But the Bills just have that it factor to me right now. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's sustainable, but I just think that the Bills finally have a run game going with Devin Singletary. I mean, at the beginning of the year, we were saying whether it was going to be him or Zach Moss. Zach Moss is barely, he was inactive a few games just because he was healthy and he didn't even play. So I think the Bills are able to turn these guys into some star players. I think Gabriel Davis, watch out for that name. I think Gabriel Davis is going to be a game changer in this playoffs. I think that the Bills, I just have this feeling about them, and on paper, so this is what I'm saying. I have Bills over Bucs here, but if the Packers if they manage to beat the Bucs, I think they go all the way. So I know I can't be making alternate reality picks, but I'm last year, I said things that ended up being correct, but even though I didn't pick them as potential, if this goes differently, if we get this Bucs Packers matchup, if the Packers win, I think they go all the way. If they don't and the Bucs win, I'm going with the Bills. So I'm going with the Bills because I think I can't doubt history, but I really think that game is going to be interesting again. So that's my pick. I'm going with the Buffalo Bills. I got to be confident with it, even though there's a lot of, this is going to be a fun postseason to watch. I can't wait to just watch some football. And so I've been doing weekly picks videos. This is what I do for the playoffs. I do one video predicting the whole thing. So I might not have any exact videos for sure coming out soon. I'm working on a lot of stuff behind the scenes that I'm hoping to improve for the coming months. When it comes to draft season, I haven't gotten to the film breakdowns this year, but I think that I'm doing more outside video stuff that is outside of what you see on YouTube. But don't worry, progress is being made, We're getting the setup set up here. You know, got a new webcam here we're testing out. So let me know, and let me know if you'd like the LED lights in the background. I can change the color and stuff, or if you'd prefer them without. But we're gonna, you know, we're back on the YouTube here, and so this is my season predictions. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one.